Hello and welcome to the Vaults of Terra. My name is Ed and today we're going to be continuing with our Primarch videos with a quick look at Jaghatai, the Primarch of the White Scars. Now, also known as both the Great Khan or the Warhawk, Jaghatai was the Primarch of the White Scars Legion in the time of the Great Crusade. He was a distant Primarch, rarely getting involved in matters that he felt were other people's troubles, but he was also a fierce fighter whose barbaric appearance belied his highly cultured mind. Records of him can be vague, but his actions spoke great volumes when observed. He was cast off by the Chaos Gods onto a planet named Mundus Planus, known to the locals as Chogoris. It was a planet of wide plains and rolling hills, dotted with vast mountains and blue seas. When the Great Khan arrived, these people had reached the Black Powder Age. The world was controlled by a dominant empire, ruled by an organised aristocracy and a disciplined military, in the name of a man just called the Palatine, who led his armies into battle and was considered one of the greatest generals of his age. West of this empire was a land known as the Empty Quarter, where nomadic tribes of horsemen fought over their ancestral lands. The Palatine often led his men here, taking tribesmen as slaves or practicing his men against live targets. It was the people of the Empty Quarter who found the Primarch, a small tribal leader named Ong Khan, finding the boy on the open steppes. Seeing the child had the fire of a great warrior in his eyes, Ong proclaimed him a gift from the gods, and that he would save the people from the Palatine. Now others disbelieved Ong, hating him for his ideals of looking beyond the steppes of their homeland and to the constant conflicts that drove them. The Khan quickly grew into his role as a member of the clan and a warrior. He learned the ways of their warfare well, but it could not save his father, who was killed by the rival Kureid clan. In his rage, Jaghatai slew the enemy clan, killing the men, women and children. When he was done, he mounted the head of the dead tribe's leader on his tent pole and vowed to end once and for all the constant inter-clan fighting that claimed his father's life. That brother would no longer fight brother over these trivialities, and all would be united against a common foe. To change their ways, he needed to rule them, and to become chief of all chiefs. To do that, ironically, he would need to make war in the steppe. He fought hundreds of battles and claimed hundreds of heads to show his prowess. He even defeated the Palatine's hunting parties, showing his warriors' tenacity to outwit a stronger opponent. His tribe, the Talaskas, grew as he absorbed the tribes and grew stronger as he did so. He also made military service mandatory, making all those able to fight for their people fight, whilst at the same time splitting up tribes to remove any loyalty to their old clans, cementing their inclusion in a new and larger tribe. His warriors were fiercely loyal, and were promoted not based on their age or political position, but on their merit and combat skill. After 10 Chogorian years, many of the tribes have been united, and they all were moving towards their winter settlements. However, an avalanche occurred and pushed the Primarch and his group of warriors off a mountain they were scaling with the rest of their tribe, killing him and the ones who were swept with him, but burying the Khan so he could not rejoin his tribe before they moved on, because they believed him dead. It was in this moment that the Palatine's men caught the slowed Primarch alone. All that returned of that hunting band was one horrifically injured rider, carrying the head of the Palatine's son who had been with the hunting band, carrying a message that the steppe was no longer the Palatine's hunting ground. After the snows cleared, the Palatine, clearly angered by his son's death, sent vast armies to wipe out the Khan and his tribes. However, his men rode heavily armoured horses and operated in tight formations. These units were outmanoeuvred by the lighter and more organised now tribal cavalry, and their tight formations were decimated by a rain of arrows that the tribesmen unleashed upon them. These vast legions of soldiers were destroyed by the organised tribesmen, and the Palatine, who was the last left alive after this conflict, retreated to his capital. In the wake of his victory, the tribesmen proclaimed Jaghatai the Great Khan, leader of all the tribes. With his tribal force, the Great Khan went to conquer the rest of the world, so his people would be given peace. After 10 years, he came to the Palatine's palace and demanded his head on a spike. The citizens of the city granted his request, and soon the Palatine was no more than a decoration on his tent pole. In 20 years, the Khan had conquered the world, and with it came the problems of doing so, combined with his people's desires of returning to the old ways of their nomadic existence. By and large, they returned to their homeland, leaving the Great Khan and his generals to rule. 6 months later, the Emperor of Mankind arrived. The Great Khan immediately pledged his service to his father. He was given to his legion, the 5th Legio Astartes, which he named the White Scars, after the ritual of facial scarring taken from Khan's tribesmen. He joined the Great Crusade, and his legion distinguished themselves for their hit-and-run raids, utilising hover and ground bikes in the same way they had used their horses on their homeworld. He gained a fierce reputation for combat, and served in several significant campaigns. However, he never well integrated into the fellowship of the Primarchs, and amongst his brothers he only ever felt kinship with Horus and Magnus the Red. Now, at the beginning of the Horus Heresy, Horus was sure that his savage brother would join him, but surprisingly Khan declined his initial overtures, remaining loyal to the Emperor over his favoured brother, but still sitting on the fence over to which side he should support. During this time, conflicting astropathic messages prevented him from going to Istvan, and so avoided the drop site massacre. However, when Dawn's call to aid Terra cut through the confusion, the Great Khan decided to leave the theatre of battle, where he was fighting the Alpha Legion with the aid of the Space Wolves, to regroup at Terra, leaving the Wolves to fight the traitors, and ignoring Horus's calls to attack Leman Russ, not out of any loyalty, but out of a desire to know what was going on first. However, as Khan sought answers as to why his brother would betray the Emperor, he was beset by orcs and obstructive warp storms at the Kondrax system, part of an elaborate trap by the Alpha Legion. Eventually he broke through the trap and travelled where he believed many of the trouble spawned from, Prospero. There he found only ruins and the ghost of the Thousand Suns left behind. He stayed for a time, and a projection of Magnus the Red eventually arrived to speak to him. Magnus pressured his brother to choose a side in the rebellion, as he was still torn between his brother and his father, but the Khan refused, shattering the image of Magnus with his blade. Later, while still on Prospero, Mortarion, the Primarch of the Death Guard, arrived to try and sway the Great Khan, but again the White Scars Primarch refused, saying that even if the Emperor was a tyrant that they claimed him to be, the type of ruler that he hated above all else, Horus was merely a slave to the Chaos Gods, and was only being manipulated for their own ends. This proclamation led to a duel between the two Primarchs, Jaghatai being faster, but Mortarion having greater endurance, and this equalised conflict ending only when the Legion's fleet clashed in space. Seeing that his fleet was outclassed, Mortarion retreated. However, even the Khan's own men tried to stage a pro-Horus coup, although this was thwarted by Shiban Khan from the Brotherhood of the Storm before it gained too much strength. The Scars finally made it to Terra, where they took part in the siege by harrying the forces of Chaos as they landed and marched on the planet, giving the defending Blood Angels and Imperial Fists at the Emperor's Palace some respite. They even managed to recapture the planet's main spaceport, where the enemy had made a beachhead, cutting the traitors off from their resupply. However, he was still on Terra defending this area when Sanguinius fell, and he did not witness the fight between the Emperor and Horus. After this all ended and the Codex Astartes was made, Jaghatai Khan led an expedition to reclaim some of his warriors captured by renegade Eldar, and was apparently lost in a warp due to this search. No one knows where he is now, and the White Scars only hope that his hunt will end and he will return. So that's everything I wanted to mention this week. Thank you for watching. If you've got any questions, you can leave them in the comment section below or send me a personal message. Just a quick update, I'm currently updating and testing my live streaming software whilst I prepare for my role-playing game. So if anybody is interested, you can head over to the Twitch channel, Vaults of Terra Ed, which will be linked in the comment section below, and I will be regularly uploading streams there. If anyone has any suggestions on what they'd like to see me stream whilst I test the software, let me know. Anyway, that's everything I wanted to speak about today. See you next time on the Vaults of Terra.